powerful Comanche chief is slowly dying from an unknown illness. But what if it's not a sickness at all? A young white woman held captive by the tribe begins to notice strange signs. Things only she can understand. The truth she's about to uncover could shake the tribe to its core. Thank you so much for watching, and for all your comments. Let me know at the end if you liked the story, and where you're watching from and why you're following this. The scorching Texas sun beat down mercilessly on the Comanche encampment, nestled in the valley between rolling hills covered with mesquite and dry grass. It was the summer of 1853, and the people, as the Comanche called themselves, had established their temporary village near a creek that still held precious water, despite the relentless heat. Dozens of buffalo hide teepees stood in organized clusters, their tops open to allow smoke from cooking fires to escape into the cloudless sky. Inside the largest teepee at the center of the camp, Chief Nakoa lay on a bed of furs, his powerful frame weakened by an illness that had plagued him for nearly 2 moons. Once a warrior whose very name struck fear into the hearts of his enemies, he was now reduced to a shadow of his former self. His bronze skin had taken on an unhealthy pallor, and his muscular body, hardened by countless battles and buffalo hunts, had grown lean and frail. Beads of sweat covered his forehead, despite the relative coolness inside the shelter. Nakoa was only 30 winters old in the prime of his life, yet he felt as ancient as the hills surrounding their camp. His thick black hair, usually worn in 2 long braids decorated with eagle feathers, earned through acts of bravery, now hung limp and dull. His dark eyes, once sharp as an eagle's and filled with the fire of leadership, had become clouded with pain and confusion. Beside him knelt Makya, the tribe's medicine man, an elderly figure with a deeply lined face that spoke of 7 decades of accumulated wisdom. His gnarled hands moved with practiced precision as he prepared yet another healing remedy, grinding herbs in a stone bowl. The old healer's expression was grave, his weathered brow furrowed with concern that he could no longer hide from his chief. "Great chief, you must eat," Makya urged in the Comanche tongue, his voice rough with age and worry. "Your strength fades like the evening sun. This sickness, it does not behave like any illness I have seen in all my years. You improve for a day, then worsen again. It is as if the spirits themselves are confused." Nakoa attempted to sit up, but a wave of nausea forced him back down onto the furs. His stomach churned violently, and his head pounded with a pain that felt like war drums beating inside his skull. "I cannot keep food down, old friend. Everything I consume returns to torment me. Perhaps it is my time to join our ancestors in the spirit world." "Do not speak such words," Makya chided gently, though his eyes reflected his own growing fear. "The people need you. Without your leadership, the young warriors grow restless. Tokala speaks too often of war against the white settlers, while you have always counseled wisdom and strategy." The medicine man's words were true. Tokala, Nakoa's cousin and a fierce warrior in his own right, had been circling leadership like a wolf waiting for the alpha to fall. Tokala was brave, there was no questioning that, but he lacked the tempering wisdom that made Nakoa such an effective chief. Where Nakoa saw the value in choosing battles carefully, Tokala saw only the glory of warfare. Outside the teepee, the camp bustled with activity despite the oppressive heat. Women worked tirelessly, scraping buffalo hides stretched on wooden frames, their hands moving with the efficiency born of lifelong practice. Children laughed and played games between the lodges, their joy a stark contrast to the somber mood surrounding their chief's dwelling. Warriors sat in groups, maintaining their weapons, sharpening arrows, and speaking in low voices about their leader's mysterious illness. Near the edge of the encampment, separated from the main activities, stood a smaller teepee where the captives were kept. Inside, a young white woman named Sarah Mitchell sat on the hard ground, her wrists bound with rawhide strips. She was 22 years old, with long auburn hair that caught the light like copper, and green eyes that still held a spark of defiance despite her circumstances. Her calico dress, once a pretty blue pattern, was now torn and stained from her ordeal. Sarah had been taken 3 months ago during a raid on a settler wagon train, traveling through Comanche territory. She had been traveling with her father, a merchant hoping to establish trade in San Antonio, and her younger brother. The attack had been swift and brutal. Her father had been killed in the initial assault, and her brother had managed to escape in the chaos. Sarah had been captured along with 2 other women, though they had been traded to another tribe weeks ago, leaving her alone among her captors. The young woman had spent her captivity learning to survive. She observed everything, understanding that knowledge might be her only path to freedom. She had picked up fragments of the Comanche language, enough to understand basic conversations. The women of the tribe had put her to work performing menial tasks, fetching water, gathering firewood, and helping with food preparation under constant supervision. Despite her situation, Sarah possessed a sharp mind and a resilient spirit. Before the attack, she had helped her father with his business dealings, learning to read people and situations with surprising accuracy. She had also assisted the town doctor back in Missouri, learning about herbs and medicines that could heal or harm. This knowledge, she was beginning to realize, might prove more valuable than she had ever imagined. As the afternoon sun began its descent toward the western horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Sarah was brought to Chief Nakoa's teepee by Ayanna, one of the older women who had shown her the least cruelty. Ayanna was a dignified woman of perhaps 45 winters, with kind eyes and a gentle manner that suggested she had not always agreed with the practice of taking captives. "Come, white woman," Ayanna said in halting English, one of the few in the camp who could speak the language. "Chief needs water. You help." Sarah rose stiffly, her muscles aching from sleeping on the hard ground. She followed Ayanna through the camp, acutely aware of the hostile stares from some of the warriors. Tokala, in particular, watched her with undisguised contempt. He was a tall, powerfully built man with a cruel set to his mouth and eyes as hard as flint. His hatred of all whites was well known throughout the camp. When they entered the chief's teepee, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Despite her situation, despite everything she had endured, she found herself